You know that, right?
I know.
You are ridiculous. Hey, it's After Dark. How's it
Sorry,
going?
I'm trying to figure out how to do things here. There we go.
If you figure out how to do things, let me know.
Yeah, it'll be a dangerous day.
Indeed. All right. So it's our After Dark show, and I assume we'll have some viewers trickle in as we go here. But yeah, so this is the monthly show based on getting enough pledges on Pod Pledge and or Patreon. We do a monthly, once a month on the first Monday of every month. We do a live, all filters off show. So we got Chris and Brandon both back, and Brandon is about to mock me for my Mount Gamesmore. So who did I put on there? Because I don't even remember. I can guarantee I know who at least two of them are.
Okay, so who do you know?
Okay, so I know I put Blada on there.
Yes.
I know I put Ryan Lockett on there.
Yes.
And yeah, let's just say that right now, if I could redo it, I would put a different name on there.
Yeah. You also had Friedemann and Juve, so
yeah, and that makes perfect sense.
And then Chris, we can I can't really mock his too much. Alan Moon, Friedemann, Wolfgang Kramer, and Knizia.
See, and I love, just so we're clear, let me defend the Ryan Lockett thing. Not because here's the deal. I think that what Ryan Lockett is doing is fascinating.
He's a triple threat.
He is the like.
But you got to be good at those three to be called a triple threat.
I love the art. Production.
He's great at art. Don't get me wrong.
And he's had a couple of good games.
Yeah, his designs are all good, just not perfect, and that's the problem. They
just don't make it past rulebook reads for me. I read them and I think, oh, why did I buy this? Oh, because I looked at the art.
He's bad at rulebooks. He is bad at rulebooks. I will say that.
Shockingly bad. I couldn't play the Ancient World because of the rulebook.
But to be fair, bad at rulebooks has not stopped 3/4 of the people that design and publish stuff in 20, right? Like, yes, we have a lot of bad
rulebooks. Things have changed in the past 20 years, right, Bill? Things have gotten to where you have no more fucking excuses not to have your rulebooks proofread and good and spot on.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Because
there are no more excuses. They can make all the excuses they want to, but we don't have to buy them because they're bullshit.
But we still do. We still buy them. We still give them awards. We celebrate these games that have terrible rulebooks still in 2018. It's annoying. My point is Lockett isn't even the most egregious.
No, he's not. No, I'm just saying his rulebooks do nothing to get me to play the games.
My criticism of his games is, are any of them really that replayable after like 5 or 10 plays? Like, I've had a lot of like his games. I'm like, I've enjoyed them 5 times, but I would never play it a 6th.
So first off, hi, Paul. Welcome to After Dark, where we're going to swear at each other.
I don't know if I'm in the frame. Hello.
You are. Hello. Kimberly and random people are here. Hi.
Hi, we're at game night. So this is Sharon.
Hi.
Anita. Hi.
Hi.
This is Cubist, people. That is
hello.
Brandon and Bill. And this is Chris. Matt is downstairs. How are you guys?
We're good. We're good. I was getting yelled at for liking Ryan Lockett's games, and I was about to defend why I think that they're better than Brandon thinks they are.
You just think Ryan Lockett's cute, Bill.
I do think he's cute. I'm not gonna lie. That doesn't hurt his case at all.
He's adorable. He's like 12. Ryan Lockett.
He does kind of look like he's 12, for sure.
I thought he was a kid when we saw him at BGG. So.
Yep.
No, how did the Knizia show go?
I think it went great.
Yeah.
Chris talked too much, but other than that, it went great. I'm kidding.
Under control.
Chris talked exactly as much as he should have. So Chris.
Perfect. Good job, Chris.
Exactly. Chris. Oh, look at Chris. He's like, I don't know. Chris, you are a joy to have on the show. You always are. What?
Oh my God, he looks younger than Cole. Let me see. Yeah,
well,
no, he's young looking. We're now looking up Ryan Lockett. He looks younger.
Oh, they're Googling him to see if he's cute.
He's like the most mild-mannered, like, nice person in person, too.
He's uber talented. The dude can play like 50 instruments.
Oh, he's like a superhuman.
Just make a rulebook that I freaking like.
Hang on, we can't see you. Hold on. Let me present. Present to everyone.
Do you want me to enlarge it?
See, he is cute. Look at that.
Enlarge the photo. We're doing
oh boy, stuff. There we go. Everybody can.
Oh, no, don't take. I don't want to present anymore. It's my face now. You.
I know. That's why we did it. Haha.
on his show.
Yes, there you go.
We're live.
Ryan Lockhat's Mormon self would probably be horrified by being on the After Dark show.
Yes, I'm sure. Ryan, if Ryan knew he was on an After Dark show.
So we say all kinds of terrible things after dark, right, Ben?
That's usually how that goes.
That's how it works.
I say terrible things. Oh, Sharon made a bunch of comments on. We were playing Bora Bora, and Sharon was all about that wood. So it's been a sketchy night already.
Nice.
She loves
Nice.
those
Nothing
things.
wrong with that.
That is a game with like
I'm more
half-naked
off of
people too, right?
There are a lot of half-naked people in Portland.
Yeah,
Yes.
in Bora Bora, not at game night.
No,
It's the wrong game night,
We're
Kimberly.
not- we are literally at game night in a grocery store.
we're all closed.
I don't see why that should stop anything, but all right, that's cool. You do you.
I would too stop the nudity. Jesus.
Nice.
But see this
Are you
giant
looking for
room?
nudity? What are you doing?
Wow, that's in a grocery store?
This is
That's
the
awesome.
upstairs, sitting area at a grocery store. So we play games here because we can get food readily available. Like
We should play at
breakfast,
Hy-Vee, Chris.
machine stuff.
Yeah, we
Huh?
should.
We should play at Hy-Vee.
Yeah, we should.
See, now they're gonna go play at a grocery store. We're good influences.
That's where I'm hosting game day tomorrow.
Bill is in Wisconsin. Chris, where do you live?
Yes.
Jefferson City, Missouri.
Missouri. And Brandon is in St. Louis-ish.
No, I'm in the same city as Chris.
No, I don't think I would got that far.
Brandon
just
and
like-
I are about 2 miles from
I was
each
going to say, 2 miles from each other, but yet here we are. Through the power of the modern internet. And we lost Bill.
Cubist left the call. What happened to Bill?
He's on a sketchy internet connection.
Yeah, he's tethered. He's having internet issues.
No, I don't.
I'm actually tethered to my phone's internet connection to make the show happen tonight.
So it's cool, yo. And see, I
So-
went grocery shopping. This is how exciting game night is. And then I go grocery shopping.
Nice.
Matthew is currently downstairs buying cereal.
Are there
Outstanding.
any board games about grocery shopping? Like, surely that exists.
There's
Shopping
one
time.
of those. Didn't they make like
I
a
don't
board
know.
game out of that game? That
You could design that, Chris.
I've tried designing a game. It was not great. So
Come on now. Where's
And
your
everybody knows if
sugar?
at first you don't succeed, give up and pass the buck to somebody else, right?
I will hot take in 2018. The world needs fewer game designers.
That's true. I don't
I'm
disagree.
making all of my best faces for you guys.
I know, we can tell. It's lovely. All right.
What about who is in the chat? Hi, chat
So-
people.
Chad, Ben, Joshua, Dan, Paul. There you go. That's our chat room at the moment.
Hi,
She
my
says
chat
hello,
room. I
everybody.
missed you.
Aw, she
You're
misses
busy,
us.
So I'm going to turn you to look at other people.
Okay.
So I have to call out somebody in the chat, Bill.
Yes, go ahead.
So I met Chad Roberts. I actually,
Nobody wants
that
to-
guy is an aspiring game designer with talent. So Chad is probably horrified that I'm saying this, but
Wait, are we allowed to say nice things about Chad
We're not
Roberts? I thought
supposed
that
to
was a
talk
rule.
about it. But you're not supposed to talk about it.
I'm just saying.
Look, let him look at my groceries.
I thought there was a rule about not saying nice things about him. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
That's all right. Fine.
Probably terrible because I'm moving.
Okay,
my
so
around.
Joshua's Mount Gamesmore, Sid Saxon, Gary Gygax, Richard Garfield, Francis Tresham. Were we specific about board games?
I don't believe I specifically said that.
Okay.
So
Because I kind of want to give him crap for throwing Gygax in there. Not because Gygax didn't do some important stuff for the hobby, but because I feel like it's slightly off the path of where we were headed with the original question. But I don't know. Maybe not. And Dan's right, by the way. Near and Far is replayable. Lots of replayability in that one.
So I never bothered to read it, but wasn't there some stuff that came out last year about how Gary Gygax was like tracked by the FBI?
Oh, yeah. Him and Steve Jackson.
What?
Steve Jackson got all of his computers confiscated by the FBI. Oh, yeah. Those are both legit things. Yeah, because Steve Jackson did all of the stuff about the Illuminati, right? Like had all those themed games about I think it was Illuminati was the game that triggered everybody's the government was convinced that he was some sort of subversive like rabble rouser and came and took all his computers for like a year or something like that, way back in the day.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of tragic. I mean,
well, it was during. So you're talking about the satanic panic of like the 80s, right? It's that same time period where we hadn't figured out that gaming was just a hobby. The churches were going after tabletop gaming as being this evil, soul corrupting thing versus just a fun thing to do on a Friday night.
And today, at least in Jeff City, the largest game group seems to be in a church.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely migrated.
And I bet they don't play that evil Dungeons and Dragons there.
That's true. You have any D&D groups meeting in church?
I don't know. Possibly. Who knows?
So as far as Ben in the chat is...
guys, I love you.
All right.
Okay,
love you too, lady. Bye, Matt. Bye, everybody. Nice to meet you. Yeah. The government was all basically anything that came off subversive got government attention in the 80s, and that was Gygax as well. So it was very much a thing. Yeah, it was stupid, but it was a thing.
Yeah, I need to go back and read it. I just thought that was like when I saw it, I was like, "What? That sounds absurd." But
well, because in 2018, right? We all, I mean, especially us, we're too close to the forest to see the trees, right? Like for us, it's well, duh. This is of course just an awesome, fun, cool hobby. Whereas 30 years ago, people didn't have any idea what D&D was. They still thought it was people running around in the sewers because of that stupid Tom Hanks movie, right? Like there was, it was the most misunderstood hobby probably in the country at the time.
I have to be honest, I've actually never played D&D or any role-playing game. So,
okay. But you know that it's not people running around in sewers with swords hacking up alligators and crap.
I didn't know that.
To his credit, he probably doesn't know that.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've seen it played, but every Sunday at Pawn and Pite in Kansas City, there's this like group that plays it, and there's this woman who shrieks at various points. I think she has like a character or something. So
sure.
But that's all I know about it. But I know they're not in the sewers because they're occupying the big tables.
Right. The one that you wish you had, so that way you could play video games.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always occupied by an RPG group. So
gotcha. Anyway, yeah, that was all it was. It's just in the 80s, people didn't understand the idea of tabletop gaming, period. So it was all very looked down upon. So, all right, back to the Mount Gamesmore thing. We got yours. Brandon, what was yours?
Mine, you can mock me all you want to. Knizia is on there. Klaus Jürgen Friede, Antoine Bauza, and then I put Xavier George. So
Xavier George is
Ginkgopolis, right? Carson City, Troyes, Tournai, Royal Palace. So
a bunch of games that won't exist in 10 years.
No, Ginkgopolis has a remarkable durability for a game that's been out of print
over
for
10
a long
years
time.
old already.
I was just saying that to get a rise out of Brandon. I don't believe that for a second.
I think that's an interesting question, though, right? Like the staying power of some of these games, it sort of ties into our Knizia conversation earlier.
That entire top 10 is going to be gone.
Which entire top 10? The one on BGG right now?
Yeah. Yep.
You think so? I don't.
It'll be replaced by something new and prettier.
I don't think you're right.
Not to keep doing like shout outs to my crap for this week, but we had that list on the Opinion of Gamers of like the top 50 like modern classics 95 to 2015. Here's the thing, of the top 50, I would guess like maybe only the top 15 is actually going to be anywhere like in 10 years. I mean, the hobby's just moving at the speed of light, and a lot of things that were once untouchable are just quickly going by the wayside. One of them is El Grande. So
oh, that's because it's not a good game.
Oh, you stop that.
It is a good game. I just hate it.
No, I like that's how I feel about Gloomhaven. So
yeah, and see and this is why I absolutely respect that sort of thing, right? Because it amazes me when gamers can't look past their own preferences to recognize quality. I have never. I feel like for a group that likes to pride itself on its critical thinking and its intelligence in general, how weirdly blind gamers and tribalistic gamers can be about stuff, and I've never understood that.
I think part of the reason why you don't fall into that is a lot of people who haven't been in this very long don't know the difference between when they don't like a mechanic and when that mechanic is bad.
Yeah.
So I don't like, I don't like programming game. I've just almost never played any programming games I like. I hated Robo Rally, for instance. And so I know that about myself. I know that like a programming game has a high bar with me, but a low bar with a lot of other folks.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe, and that might just be like, I get nervous when I start talking about, well, I've been playing this for so long because I don't want it to feel like, if you'd been playing games as long as I had, I don't want it to be, I'm not trying to make it sound like that, but I do think there's something to be said for when you can take a long view of the hobby as a whole.
Yeah. When you've played a dozen games in each different little subgenre, I mean,
yeah, and you can recognize the difference between a well-implemented mechanic and a not well-implemented mechanic.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I get that. Can I just ask a question? Can I rant? I can rant, right? Because it's after dark. I'm allowed to. Why the fuck?
Whenever you want.
Why the fuck are we not reprinting some of these really great games that are out there? Do we really think that there's a publisher that's parking it on Ginkopolis such that Ginkopolis can't get reprinted?
So I actually asked a couple of publishers this now. I think if Paul's still in the chat, then he'll be able to answer it with
Paul, help us out here.
Yeah, with more certainty. But I think, if a game has 5,000 copies in existence and there are 5,500 people that want it, that drives the prices up really high. But 500 extra copies is not worth doing an entire print run. So I think for a lot of games, like a lot of Grailish games, they get this extra print run and then they have trouble selling that. And so I think that's the struggle.
See, and I think that I get that mentality, but my counterpoint is that if the game doesn't exist for people to learn about it, people aren't going to buy it. Like Grail games don't exist for people that are still learning about the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Like until somebody plays Ginkopolis, they don't know if they like it.
And this is why I'm so, I'm going to curse here on your After Dark. This is why I'm so damned fascinated with restoration games. And I wish they were doing something other than Fireball Island. Because they have a huge swath of games that they could put this new touch on. And the thing is, they're doing something that no other publisher has done. They are actually supporting them. They are marketing them. And so a lot of publishers, when they reprint the game, they're like, oh, well, here's the new version. Like Restoration Games celebrates this, and that's pretty darn cool. So
yeah, I don't know that no other publisher did it. Stronghold made their name doing this.
Yeah,
right. Like Stronghold's whole mission statement.
I am very grateful to Stronghold for Code 777.
Yep, and Outpost, which was a Grail game for a lot of people that Stronghold brought back, and a few other games. I mean, I feel like there was a number.
More recently, the Bottle Imp.
Yep, I feel like there are other publishers doing it. But you're right. Restoration is making a spectacle, right? They're not just pushing it. They have people that understand advertisement and hype.
Yeah, and they've done a phenomenal job of making what's old feel new again. I mean,
yes.
So, what's that trick-taking game? It used to be called Dragon Master. What's it?
It's Indulgence.
Indulgence. Like, that was one of the hottest trick-taking games last year, and I mean, it's really not new.
Oh, well, and so Paul in the chat said too many new games, too many good new games is the problem. I don't know that I agree with that. I think that there are a lot of new games. I don't think a lot of them are good. Well, okay, maybe that's wrong. That's not what I mean to say. I mean to say that I don't think that there are really good games. I think there's a lot of okay games that people get excited about because they're pretty and they play easily. And there's an entire, I don't know, movement is the wrong word, a trend towards I want to be able to play this game in 20 minutes. So that way I can play 5 different games at my game night. And so games that are quick get more love because they're quick. And I think that and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of really great short games. I'm not trying to say that a game has to be 2 hours to be good, but I think that there's a industry lean there.
So, I mean, I haven't been in this as long as you have, Bill, but I've been in it long enough to see what I see as a shifting wind, where we used to have a lot of Nietzsche-like titles that were sort of single mechanic, new mechanic novel, and then that was sort of the show. Now I think there's a lot more of mashups. I see a lot more of like video game ideas worked into board games. Do you see that too? I mean, is that part of the story?
Okay, so first off, I'm sorry, I have to finish shouting at Chad for being a jerk. There's okay games like Eclipse, whatever, dude. I think that gaming was in its own bubble until recently. And now that gaming is becoming mainstream-ish, that it is expanding into other realms of pop culture, and other realms of pop culture are expanding into it. So I think you're seeing more blending, which is where you're talking about like video games being part of board game design and having that feel. I think that's that to me. I think it's just a matter of it's all sort of playing together nicer than it did 15, 20 years ago. When 20 years ago, you know, if you said that you were going to have a board game night, people were like, nerd, you know, and then wanted to, you know, give you a atomic wedgie or some, I don't know if people actually did that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the thing that you didn't celebrate that. It was still in basements and it was still Funyuns and Mountain Dew.
I also think though, maybe we like some of these games for nostalgia reasons. So like,
oh yeah,
I can't get people to like Catan anymore. Like I'm like, let's play Catan, and then I teach like new gamers Catan. I'm like, that game sucks. So
right.
I mean,
but see, but here's the thing: Catan doesn't suck. It's just not
fun.
It is fun. No, here's the deal. It is. I own it still out of nostalgia. I don't ever reach for it. That doesn't make it a good game. It just makes it a game that I am no longer interested in. And I think that anybody that if you play any game too much, that same thing happens. Puerto Rico is the same thing for me. Puerto Rico is an arguably great game. I think that
Puerto Rico was run by Puerto Rico players.
Yeah, and Catan was ruined by Catan players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same kind of thing. So no, you haven't heard me say that Catan is not fun. You've heard me say that I don't enjoy it, Ben. I think that it's not a game that I enjoy anymore, but there's a reason I still keep it.
It was a game that I skipped right past and had no interest in going to it. And we have a fun group. Don't get me wrong. We ham it up with modern art and we do this and that. And I'm sure with Catan, we could find some fun in the trading element of it. But other than that, it's just boring. Yeah.
Catan is no longer required reading in 2018.
It only was because of the rarity.
No, it wasn't.
I know Brandon hasn't played these. I don't like Entdecker very well, but I always thought Lowenhertz was actually the more interesting member of the Catan trilogy. So, have you played Entdecker?
I own Entdecker. As a matter of fact, I own
the freaking game.
I love that game. There's a reason I still own it because I adore that game, and I actually don't adore Lowenhertz or Domain, which was the new version of it that Mayfair did when he sort of redid.
Oh, you're saying Entdecker? I'm sorry, I like Lowenhertz the best of them, but
right. I know. I'm saying I like Entdecker better.
Mean.
Yeah, I think Brandon will really like Entdecker because he's a tile placement guy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Which it's sitting over there waiting to be played.
I'm going to throw this out there. I like mean games. So
yeah. I like mean games too. Don't get me wrong.
It depends on the game.
I'm desperate these days for another game of Thrones. So maybe I'm just missing the TV show though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm missing it.
I want. By the way, tangent apropos of nothing, but I just want to throw this out there. I want a Westworld themed game that works like this War of Mine, the board game. Like I want something that's super narrative driven, like this War of Mine, but themed around Westworld. I want that so bad it hurts.
I actually think Westworld will make a great time story scenario.
Yeah, I think it would make a lot of really. I think you could take that IP and go in a bunch of different directions.
I started watching the new season though, and I think I'm not smart enough for Westworld. I think that show might be too smart for me.
Too beyond you. I canceled my HBO Now because I'm just going to wait till season 2 is over and then re-up for a month and watch the whole thing and be done with it because I don't have cable. But yeah. I don't know. I think Catan is fine. Chad says it's just super dry compared to the new hotness. It's not really bad. I agree. There's nothing. It's another one of those games that Catan without any expansions, if you're just playing straight Catan, is very dry. As soon as you add any of the extra content, Cities and Nights, or if you are lucky enough to get Das Buch, which I have.
Have you played any of those, Chris?
No, actually, I've never. So the one time I was going to play a Catan expansion, the table next to me was playing them, and it took 4 hours, and then I became afraid to ever try them.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, all of the expansion-y kinds of things for Catan bring that extra flavor that I think that if you fondly remember Catan and wish it was fun again, that's how you get it there. Because once you understand the basic system of Catan, there are a million different ways to play it. Historical Scenarios Volume 2.
I have played those.
Okay, so the Great Wall of China version that's in there, that basically just got redid as the Game of Thrones Catan. That's what that is.
Oh, okay.
It's they took the Great Wall mechanic and they took the Star Trek Catan like personalities. He took those two things and created a Game of Thrones version. That's really good. Yeah. I know a lot of people that has resurrected their entire interest in it. I already had the historical scenarios, so I didn't feel compelled to buy it, but yeah. Casey, I feel like it's relevant to note that certain games like Catan and see as foundational games from which many other games often refined are birthed on, but for new people to the gaming hobby, they aren't required, I think is where he's going to go with that. Represent the low barrier of entry. Yeah, I agree. I think that base Carcassonne has that feel for a lot of old school gamers, even though I think it is I still like base Carcassonne. It's the only one I have, and that's the only one I need. I think that you could make that argument about base Ticket to Ride. There's a lot of other, what we sort of think of as gateway games now, although it's easy to argue that some of those are maybe quote unquote better. I don't know that they are better. I think that they just meet modern sensibilities better.
Yeah.
That modern gamers, they feel more modern.
Speaking of things I'm not smart enough for, it's Carcassonne with the Kemp family. He bought the big box, which has like 17 expansions or something. He's just gonna dump them on the table and play them all at once, like a freaking barbarian.
Exactly. Speaking from the guy who says you need to draw 3 tiles and sit there and pick one. What the hell?
That's the strategic variant. You
that
can
is
play
not
that
the strategic variant. If anything, that takes away things.
Okay.
You just want like 200 tiles in the game with like 17 different rule sets.
If I'd have had my way, you'd have brought your big box and we'd have played both of them.
Oh, that just sounds painful.
Okay.
With the promos.
Paul in the chat, does anyone still play base Carcassonne? I do. It's the only one I own. I have no desire to buy expansions for Carcassonne because
so fun.
That's fine. I like the base game. Here's the deal about Carcassonne. I don't want to have to learn 87 different side rules for how this big meeple works and this clear meeple. And I don't want to have to worry about what is this little dude thing sitting on this tile that I've never seen before. And how does this affect scoring? If I'm playing Carcassonne, I want a light cognitive load. I don't want to learn 87 rules. Hunters and Gatherers, I actually do like, Paul. That's a good catch. I like that one as well. That's about as far down the rabbit hole as I personally choose to go.
The next thing that's going to happen is Brandon Kempf is going to take his big box and he's going to mix it with Carcassonne, the Winter Edition, South Seas, the Mayflower, all of these.
All sorts of fun.
He's going to have like a Carcassonne.
Amazonas, we're going to have a river running through it, even though we already have a river
You're
running
going to
through
need a gym floor to play this game.
I want to do that someday. I only dread having to sort it afterwards.
I don't want to play that. Here's the deal. I like you.
I would feel uncomfortable even being in the same room as that.
No, I wouldn't be. I would want to sit at the table next to it so I can poke fun at him.
There's no more room in the room.
Yeah, take it all. Fair. That's fair. You would have the entire room. Yeah, I don't. So, we've talked about this. So we did a deep dive on Carcassonne.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about what was the essential stuff, right? Like the stuff that you absolutely needed to have.
Yeah, you don't play it without traders and builders. You don't play it without the Inns cathedrals. You just don't.
Well, I do.
I do.
Because I don't own either one of them, and I still enjoy the base game. And that's my point. Not all games require an expansion. We talked about this in the main show. I'm mad at myself for buying the stupid expansion for Lost Cities because it didn't need it. Game's fine. Didn't need a 6th suit. Like the only thing that's cool about it is you end up getting into a UFO. That's kind of neat.
And Paul, I agree. I think Isle of Skye may be the better tile game, but I hate teaching and watching people try to value things. You throw that in there and it just throws a monkey wrench into my wife. And holy crap.
Please call Isle of Skye by its proper name.
Isle of Skye?
No, the Castles of Mad King Carcassonne.
Okay, hold on. I take issue with a couple different parts of this conversation. Number one, the monkey with a football look that people get on their face when they try to figure out all the possible places that a tile can go late in a game of Carcassonne, I could get in a turn of Eclipse waiting for some people.
Does that happen to us? Does
I
that
don't
happen to
know.
us? No, it doesn't.
It happens to a lot of
I
people.
know
I've played the damn
automatically
game.
where I want to stick that tile because I want to screw
Brandon,
Corinth
I've
over
played
as bad as
That's
possible.
not true.
I know it's not.
I have a legit question because I don't remember.
But also, you people make me draw tiles like way too fast.
Right. So you draw the tile at the end of your turn, right? Is that not? That's not in the rules, but that's how
No, it's
every
not.
thinking human being should do it, right?
No. Oh, hang on. Why I'm ranting tonight?
Oh, good.
Brandon once told me that he felt like that was a bad idea because
I don't like it.
Go ahead and explain yourself.
I don't like it because you may be drawing that tile
The
or
one that
somebody
you
ahead of
want?
me that I want or that I need. But you're drawing it ahead of time. Bleh. Sorry.
It's no different.
It
It's
is
just
different.
time shifted.
It is
It's
different.
you are that dickhead at the blackjack table that gets pissed off that I hit one extra time
Yep.
and took the 3 that you needed.
Yep.
Yeah, you're an idiot. I love you, but that's
I'm
dumb.
counting those tiles.
No.
And I want those tiles in the back.
And you're drawing them at the same time. It's just time shifted one rotation around the table. That's the
Yes.
only difference.
Sorry.
Wrong. Terrible. No,
There's
Chris.
never been a comment that Brandon made in the game that I have spent so much time making fun of him for as that one.
Play Carcassonne like you're supposed to play it. Draw from the bag, play the tile, pass it on.
No, have 3 tiles in your hand and
No.
play one of
No.
them on your turn and draw
No.
one at the end.
I thought that at first too. Like that's when I first played Carcassonne, I was irritated because I'm like, wait, I have this one tile and this is my only choice. I hate the fact that it's luck. But then I realized that I don't want that kind of cognitive load out of that game. So one tile is fine, but you draw it at the end of your turn so that way you can spend the trip around the table figuring out where you're going to want it to go.
It's going to change by the time we get to you anyway, unless you're playing 2-player.
No, I am a gamer, Paul, and 3 tiles is not the way to go. It is no.
It's not.
So has anybody ever
Boo.
tried just putting the 72 tiles out on the table and then drafting them one at a time?
Holy crap! What? No.
So the reason I got this idea was I was playing Kingdoms, that Reiner Knizia game, and it actually has a no luck variant in the rules. And it said that you could just put all the tiles out and then draw them. Now that game only has like 20 tiles, but I was like, you could do that with Carcassonne. It would take forever and it would probably not be fun, but
Like that's like here's a thing that I can print on a piece of paper to suck the fun out of any game with a bag of tiles. Right?
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea.
yeah, but there is this whole segment of the hobby that is like, I don't like luck in games. Now I love luck in games because sometimes it adds a lot of fun, but
Look, here's the deal. If you are allowed to not like luck in
I'm going to
games,
go get another beer.
do it. You are allowed to not like, put programming in Carcassonne for Chris. There you go. You're allowed to not like luck in games, but then you should be smart enough to avoid games that have luck, right? Like go play diplomacy, go play, perfect information games. There are a bunch of them out there. Go play, those games exist. Don't like reprogramming a game to remove luck because it is not to your tastes means that you are not choosing your games well, especially nowadays. There are better games. Like there is always a game for your style of gaming in existence right now. So
Yeah.
like, that's just bananas. That's a terrible idea. Terrible.
I might try it once. I bet I could finish that game quicker than Brandon can finish his big box version.
There you go. That's how we do
In
this
the Ray
paper race.
family, we play it 4 times before you get finished with one game.
Hey, we play games fast.
Oh boy.
It's not a race, Chris. Unless it is a race. Then it's a race.
So, okay, can we address this programming game thing for a hot second? I understand why. Help me understand why you don't like them first. Paul, you do it in the chat while Chris talks in the hang. What
Okay,
don't you like about it?
I've put a lot of thought into this, so I apologize for the rant coming at you.
That's all right. I'm ready.
I hate 2 feelings in games. I hate when a game is obvious, and I hate when a game is really chaotic. Okay? Programming games are always chaotic to me. I feel like no matter Robo Rally, Colt Express, any of these, I feel like I could just put my cards down randomly, and there's a chance I might just be okay because I have no idea what anybody else is going to do. So to me, they're always just mass chaos, and so I mean, it just doesn't work for me. Also, my mind doesn't think like that. I'm not a programmer, so like I'm more of the mathy. I like mathiness in games, so
Sure.
it's just not my style. It's not how my mind works, and so when I play those games, I'm just bored out of my mind and like am desperate for it to end.
Okay. So I want to take the other half of this here and say that I think that if a game just devolves to straight chaos, I agree with you, unless the chaos in and of itself is the point of the game. So let me give you an example. Or if the game does not stay its welcome. I don't mind Colt Express because it does not stay its welcome.
That's probably my favorite of them.
Worst case scenario, if you take it in the shorts in Colt Express, the game's over in 20 minutes and you're done, right? Like it doesn't, the game is over. It was funny. You got shot a million times by the dude and you're just like, well, this is my life now. This is life. And that's fine. Robo Rally is the bad example. Robo Rally, I think, is all chaos. It is impossible to predict things in Robo Rally, and control can be wrested from you. What little prediction, even if you got good at predicting, by the time you take damage and now you're stuck making left turns, like choices get removed from you over the span of the game. Good programming is games like Space Alert, where, yeah, that's fine. Space Alert, where the journey is the point. The game is only going to take about 30 minutes. Right? Between the 10 minutes of the soundtrack and the 15 minutes of resolution. And the journey and the ridiculousness and the giggling and the I can't believe I played this card upside down, so now I'm running into a wall over and over again is the point. And so you can laugh and you play a few games of it and you get that giggle in and then you go, okay, that was fun. So when the chaos is the point of the game, I can enjoy it. When the chaos is a result of a game that just doesn't work, which to me is Robo Rally, then it doesn't. So that's my sort of spin on this. So programming games can work as long as they are trying to do the thing that they should be trying to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And I would be more forgiving of them if they're shorter. So if you taught me a 10 or 15 minute programming game, I'd probably be happy to play it.
So that's Space Alert.
Yeah, but that one has a real time element, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I actually play games pretty quickly. I think Brandon would tell you that. I'm not like Joe Huber or anything, but I do play pretty quickly. But like I nonetheless, if I'm like intentionally rushed, it like makes it where I can't move. I'm like, So
you don't handle high pressure situations well?
No, I don't. Like I just don't like to have to. Like I think fast naturally, but I don't like to have to think fast.
Okay.
When I played, what's the 8-player game? Brandon, you mentioned it earlier.
Sonar.
Yeah, so I actually thought that was a very cool, very clever game, and I can see why people love it, but like it really stressed me out.
Yeah.
But that's the good part. I like being stressed up at that.
Yeah, I like tension in games. I can't explain why real-time games just kind of bother me.
Escape, it boggles me why people play that game. It's just obnoxious and throwing dice.
Escape I don't like. But like XCOM, I really like. That's a real-time game as well, and I enjoy that game quite a bit because I think that it challenges.
Flatline, that's the one that I actually really like. But it's 1 minute of real time, kind of crunched around a bunch of planning that you get to do, and so I think that's kind of why I like it.
I was actually okay with Magic Maze. I really liked Magic Maze.
Yeah, that too.
See, I think Magic Maze eventually gets to the point. There's somewhere around half. I played Magic Maze. Somebody taught me it, and we got through about halfway through, I think. And then somebody was like, "And now this rule," and I'm like, "No, I'm good." Like, there's a point in Magic Maze where they keep piling rules on, and the game stops being about the fun of playing the game and starts being about, can you remember all the rules you have to remember?
Yeah, that's what playing Park sounds like with Brandon.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I wouldn't have drawn that, but I agree.
But
no, I kind of agree. There comes a point when the cognitive load becomes too high. I don't want to have
Carcassonne. There is no cognitive load on the rules.
Sure, there is. I don't know how inns and cathedrals work.
I could teach you in 2 seconds.
Right, and then teach me traders and builders.
In 2 seconds.
All
and
right,
then you have 15 to go.
Right,
And then you would
teach me the
remember
other-
it.
Huh?
And you would remember it.
Really?
Yes.
Would you hand me a cheat sheet?
No,
Because that's the thing.
it's not that hard.
All right.
So what other mechanics do you guys categorically dislike? Because I think those are my only like big two.
I don't like area majority games.
Oh, well, that's why I hate El Grande.
yeah, that is definitely part of it. Area majority is not generally a thing that I'm a big fan of. There are exceptions to every rule. There are some area majorities I like just fine. But
So you like Ryan Marquette? Have you played 8 Minute Empires?
I have. I own 8 Minute Empire Legends, which I think is the better of the two. Yeah, I own it.
That is a fantastic area control game. It's
but it's 15
fast,
minutes.
Yeah, light, fast El Grande. It's not 8 minutes.
It is to area majority. I feel about 8 Minute Empire Legends about area majority the way that you feel about programming about Colt Express. It's short enough that I don't mind that I'm playing a game that is not the kind of game that I like because I know it will be over in 15 minutes, and so it's fine.
Yeah.
So, and will anybody be playing Carcassonne in 5 years? Yes.
It's got 7 million copies out there.
Yeah. Here's the deal. Carcassonne is. I mean, that's like saying, is anybody going to play Ticket to Ride? Of course they are, because there's that much of it out there, or Dominion, right? Like it's just one of those games that there's so much of it out there that it'll get played. The hotness is going to wear off.
Eventually, that hotness is going to go away. But I think it can withstand. I hate deduction games, pure deduction games. I hate.
And you're legitimately awful at them. No offense.
No, I know that. I don't try at them half the time.
It depends on the deduction game. So, like, I love Alchemists from CG. I adore that game.
I played that game with a guy last week who just kept declaring for like an hour and a half, this is the Cadillac of deduction games. And I'm like, yes, it is, but you don't need to keep saying that.
Yeah, could you shut your hole for a hot minute and let us actually play the game? Yeah, I adore that game. But, like, I could go the rest of my life without playing Mystery of the Abbey.
That one can easily be broken. I mean, it's kind of a fragile little game.
I just don't understand how to do it.
Have you played Code 777?
Yes. I owned it for a hot minute. I no longer do.
See, that's what I want to try. I haven't tried Code 777.
No.
Your Think Straight was a pile of hot poo.
Oh, that's a great one too. Herbalism, which was on Kickstarter last year, it's pretty cool.
Which I didn't enjoy all that much either, because it's by the time somebody thinks they've know what's going on, everybody's just kind of guessing anyway, so it doesn't freaking matter.
And Brandon, you really aren't fond on roll and writes either, I don't think.
No, I'm not. But
I talked about that on the main show.
Yeah. But that's easy to pick on those kind of things. Yeah, deduction games. I enjoy social deduction games to a point.
I wish Patrick were here.
Yeah.
Watching Patrick rant about social deduction games is fun.
I mean, I love them. I mean, that's
that's
probably actually my favorite game genre.
Okay. Casey in the chat, I think what I've gleaned from this combo is that I love classics like Catan, Dominion, Ticket to Ride more than the average Joe. I don't know if that's correct. I think that there is we've talked about this. I feel like content creators are constantly talking about this, that because we sort of have to keep talking about different things week after week after week in order for you to want to watch what we talk about. And that's not always the case. But I mean, like there is this, it feels like there's a pressure to be trying new things. And so we tend to discard old games in this space.
Yeah, I don't review a deck builder without saying that Dominion is the Cadillac of deck builders, and this will never reach that pinnacle. But
I love how willing you are to be vocally and loudly wrong on the reg. That makes me really happy, actually, because, God, it's so not good.
I love it too.
Yeah, it's fine.
There is not a better deck builder, a pure deck builder out there.
A better pure deck builder. Okay.
All the bells and whistles you want to at it, you're not going to make a better one.
There are other games that I enjoy more.
Yes.
I will say that Dominion being the first Ascension is a better deck builder. Star Realms. Oh, here we go. See, yeah. I had a feeling we were going to get some pushback on this one. I would rather play none of those three. I don't like any three. Like, if I'm going to play a deck builder, I would rather play Eminent Domain any day of the week than any of the ones that have been listed so far. I really like Eminent Domain. I would rather play.
I don't know that this is a deck builder. Great Western Trail.
Great Western Trail is absolutely a deck builder, but it's not a pure deck
It's got
builder.
so much going on. It's got elements of deck building in it, right?
Yeah,
It's not-
but
that's
it is
not
a
what's
deck
driving the game, right? I mean, I haven't played it. This is just me from the outside. So
It is. Here's the deal. If it didn't have such a prominent, I would have said Clank, except for Clank has such a prominent board aspect to it that you can't call it a pure deck builder.
I got so tired of that game.
Yeah, I think I understand why I have not yet, but then again, I also don't own it. But I think that I would rather play Eminent Domain. I consider City of Iron a deck builder, and that's actually the game that made me fall in love with Ryan Lockett in the first place. I think that's a really great deck building game,
And-
especially since there's no shuffling, which I adore.
And kind of an underrated civilization building game.
Yep, a little bit to an extent. I agree. I really like Puzzle Strike. That's a deck builder, even though it uses chips in a bag instead of.
that's Doofenshmirtz. Gotcha.
What?
Like, the guy whose name shan't be speaking. I don't like him at all.
Shan't be speaking.
Yes, I've been drinking.
Have
Yes.
another beer.
Shan't be spoken.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. Well, I like Puzzle Strike. I don't know anything about.
But he did Flash Duel, so I can't hate him too much. But yeah,
There
no,
you go.
he's a horrible human being.
Well, that's sure. I believe you. I like that game better than all of the ones that they're talking about. But here's the deal. I love that deck building exists. I love it when games create new genres, right? And Dominion created a new genre. Even if Brandon doesn't believe that Donald X. Vaccarino is a real human being, I think that
I sometimes doubt it too.
Nice. Concordia is sort of a deck builder. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. And I think it's a very good one that I would not have thought of. Good call, Chad. But yeah, I don't know. I do think if I had to pick from the three of those, like Ascension, Dominion, or Star Realms.
Was that the last big genre building game?
I think that came out at the same time as Pandemic, which popularized co-ops.
Co-ops, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we've seen where it's almost a decade later, and I don't think we've really seen a new big genre pop up, have we?
Yeah, we have. We've seen micro games. I would argue that Love Letter started an entire thing.
Okay, no, I actually that's fair. Micro games. I think
I would say
despite
roll and
Yahtzee-
writes.
Yeah.
Roll and writes are a genre.
Yeah, despite Yahtzee being a roll and write, I mean, I think no, I think
Sorry, I just caught that.
Yeah.
But micro games are dead for the most intents and purposes, except if you're going to follow wallet games.
says the guy who recently wrote a review of Wonderland.
Yep. It wasn't very positive, was it?
Yeah. Chad points out escape rooms. He's 100% right. Escape rooms is the genre that's happening right now. And I don't care if they're dead or not. It doesn't make it not a genre. Like, it's still a genre of games.
Yeah, are legacy games, is that a genre or is that a mechanic? I mean, I think I would say it's a genre.
I don't know that there are enough of them for it to be a genre.
Yeah.
That would be my only argument. I think for something to be a genre, there have to be more than just a couple. And right now, there's realistically only like three, right? Like there's Pandemic Legacy and its seasons. There's Seafall. There's Gloomhaven.
Hey, Chris just wrote a review of one.
Of Rise of Queensdale, which I played with Chad Roberts.
Yep.
All right. I guess.
I think Rise of Queensdale is probably my favorite. I still don't think it's a great game, but I think it's probably my favorite.
Yeah, we got up to game 3 the other night of Charterstone.
Oh,
Charterstone,
God, that piece of crap.
And was game 3 the one where you had the awful ending where everything changed?
It's the closest. I am not a temperamental gamer. It's the closest I've ever come to throwing something.
So guess what? It happened.
Yeah, of course it happened. Happens to everybody.
Abby was in dead fucking last. And won because Corinza said, "Hey, let's do this."
Yeah,
Yep.
it's. I am not a game designer, and I am barely a game critic. But that is to me seems like one of those things that should never happen in a game.
I'm trying not to spoil anything, Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, you should never have something at the end of a game that makes the person in last become first just because of an arbitrary decision.
Yep.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me because it bumped me up to second, but you could see much gnashing of teeth amongst the Brad and Kate, John Luker kind of segment of the room.
Yeah.
So we did forget to say Risk Legacy, which is the one that started it. Oh, we got Chris bailed himself out. He got so mad about Charterstone that he left the hangout. He rage quit the hangout as a result of his Charterstone. Yeah. We won't spoil anything.
No, I won't.
Yeah, here's the deal. Just know what you're getting into with Charterstone, which is you have to. Okay, so Charterstone. This is the thing that I was going to talk about with Space Alert that I danced around a little bit, but I didn't focus on it. Some games are what I think of as experience games, where you have to play the game for the experience of playing it, and not worry about winning and losing. Right? You have to just do things because they're fun to do in the game. Charterstone, I think, is one of those games, but it doesn't look like it, and so it's a bait and switch.
It doesn't advertise at it.
Right, that's my point.
Campaign.
That's why I'm calling it a bait and switch. I think I understand people's criticisms of it because it wants to be a legacy good Euro game, right? Like that's what it sort of advertised.
And it's been fine. It's been a very nice and fine Euro engine building game that doesn't do anything special.
Yeah, to go to the point in the chat, these legacy games, the competitive ones, do have to have a mechanic for catch up. I mean, I recognize that, and I thought Queensdale had a really clever one, but I don't know that the way to do that is just with like arbitrary and capricious decisions at the end of a game.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's what Charterstone did. My bigger problem with Charterstone, though, was that the rules in the game were just a pile of crap. I mean, we actually had a later game where we could not figure out how to play it, and BGG, I bought it at Essen. BGG didn't have a thread up yet. So we just legitimately could not figure out how to play the game, and we couldn't really come to a consensus as a group either. And that should never happen.
I will say something. We didn't hit the FAQ much during games 2 and 3. I think we maybe did. So
yeah, it was probably game 6 or 7 before we started having the rules problems.
Yeah, game 1 was horrible. We had to look things up and do things like that, but it's always game 1. So we had a good time playing it. It doesn't really excite me that much.
Yeah, I think that Charterstone, I like what he was trying to do with Charterstone. I just don't think the follow through didn't feel like it was there. And I understand people's criticisms. I think that it's an interesting game. I don't think that it is. I think it's sort of a Ryan Lockett problem. It's a similar problem in that it's an ambitious idea and it does some neat stuff, and it isn't.
Yeah, there's a role in
it wasn't finished.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. No, it wasn't finished. I didn't say I was finished.
Oh, well, you cut out for a second. So I was, but in this hobby, there's these people that do development behind games. I think there's one of them in the chat.
Yes, there's one in the chat right now.
Yes, and that's an important role. And Jamie Stegmaier, I think, needs to hire developers for his games because he has great ideas. Euphoria had great ideas. Viticulture had great ideas. But his games, the reason it takes 4 versions for him to get something right, because I just don't think there's enough development time done on him up front. I mean, anybody could have caught the Euphoria, if you have 2 of the same race at the starting, the game is almost broken. And Viticulture, like the cards had problems, and it really did take like 4 major versions to get everything right. A developer would fix a lot of that.
That's true. I get what you're saying.
The developers in the Kickstarter world, though.
What's that?
We are the developers in the Kickstarter world.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I wasn't going to cuss.
But that's what they're doing. Even Lockett does it. We've got second editions of 2 of his games now, probably
2.
with the third
City of Iron, and Empires of the Void.
And kudos to them for going in and fixing it, for crying out loud. They could just be worthless and ignore it.
Right.
Yeah, but I can't help but think that, and listen, even great games that are very well developed, a game like Agricola, it gets a fresh version. Like, I recognize that, and just because it has a fresh version doesn't mean the first one was bad. But a lot of these, it's pretty glaringly obvious after you play it 5 times.
Okay, but wait, hold on. I understand your point, and I don't disagree with the specific examples you're pointing to. However, I will say that some of the best game designers out there have released flawed designs into the world because no playtesting and development process is perfect, and stuff slips through all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Wallace is the king of that.
Yes.
I mean, Uwe Rosenberg had the same problem with Caverna, inadvertently released a game with an infinite loop that everybody caught, you know what I mean, because his playtesting group didn't. but it was an infinite loop that got caught after release, right? So it's not just like it's easy to go after one or two guys that have had that problem, right? And I don't disagree.
I am ironically a little bit more forgiving of errors like that than I am of like rules ambiguity, because
Sure,
all it takes for something like rules ambiguity is, find 5 or 10 people who are very experienced gamers and have them read your rule book. Like I can read a rule book and be like, this is unclear to me. And I don't have any particular talent for it. I'm not like a rule book writer or anything.
well, and that's the thing that I was going to say is that there are game developers. Yes, we have a very talented one in the chat. There are also rules editors out there that are really good at this thing. They need to work more.
That's why I'm saying that there's no more excuses for this. We shouldn't be letting those excuses happen.
No, there are excuses.
No.
Yes, there
if
are.
you're going to put something out there, hire somebody to do it fucking right.
I agree. But here's the problem. As consumers, we can't then turn around and complain about how expensive the games are.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the other half of it, right? Is that we have this idea that games shouldn't be this expensive unless you get a bunch of stuff in the box, right? Like people grouse about spending all this money because there aren't a ton of things in the box. People like I'll throw Travis Hill out there as my best example. Travis Hill is a very talented rules editor. He's very good at getting games to their essence and helping people. I know a few rules editors. They need to be paid a reasonable amount of money for a reasonable amount of time to do the job, and that adds to the bottom line. But people don't want to pay for it.
What of our Czech games? Have they gone up much since they've had Paul doing every freaking book for them? No,
and the rule books have improved, and
they have.
Right, but have they gone up?
No.
Yes.
Well, they've gone up if you start throwing plastic in them, like Pulsar 2849, and you start throwing all those other things. Yeah.
But my point is that
they're going up at the same inflation rate as everything else.
Maybe, but maybe not, right? Like Terraforming Mars is another game that, whether you like it or not, it already people were grousing about the cost of that game, but then they were also grousing about the component quality, but then they were also grousing about the rule book, but you know what I mean? But then everybody still loves it, right? So it's like, well, okay, there's lightning in a bottle where you can get away with it sometimes, but people don't want to pay for stuff, right? Like they don't want to pay. If you told everybody, look, our publishing mission statement is we are going to publish every game with a perfect rule book. And if we don't, first off, nobody's going to be stupid enough to say that because they're just setting themselves up to get screwed. But let's say that is your number one thing, right? Like I'm going to start Bill's Awesome Games, okay? And Bill's Awesome Games' entire mission statement is we are going to publish a great rule book every time. And so I pay multiple proofreaders, I pay editors, I do all of this playtesting, which costs money and time and whatever. And then I come out with a game that is really good and costs $80. People are going to be like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Why?
I buy it at the drop of a hat?
Huh?
People buy Gaia Project for $95-$100.
Sure, but Gaia Project isn't a standalone game. Gaia Project is a well-known version 2 of an already.
I'm just giving you examples here. People spend $100 on games. We talked about the value of a game the other day, and it'll be out like on the 20th, I think. And you may hear Corinza drop a couple F-bombs, but
but that's my point.
It all has to be in there, and the consensus at our table is we don't care what you put in the game. You make it a good game and you make it a playable freaking game, we'll buy it.
Right. And I agree with that, but I don't think that there are a lot of very vocal people that are like, I'm not going to spend $100 on this game when I could buy 2 other games for $50 a piece. And I'm pointing out that there's an economy behind this.
Yeah. And I will say a couple of other things. It's not necessarily how many times you play test a game. A lot of times it's who you play test it with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
you need to play test it with diverse groups of people that think in different ways with different levels of experience. I mean, testing
games. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait.
No, testing games with really experienced gamers is helpful, but it's actually also, I think, helpful to play test a game with really new gamers.
Yep. See if they can. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to have a diversity of thought around the table when you play test. And the same goes for reading rules. I'm a lawyer by training, and you cannot draft perfect rules, just like you can't draft perfect statutes or cases.
Right.
But you can make every effort to show 3 or 4 people and get differing perspectives.
Yep. No, I agree, and I've said this a million times that the rule book is the hardest part of any game design, right? Like it is the hardest part for the designer. It's the hardest.
Yeah, sorry, there Bill went again. I'm never going to say that writing a rule book is easy. I would never say that. But it's not hard.
But there are some companies that are making it look easy, right? There are companies that are making it look easy. Like Plan B is just killing it on this. Like I thought the Azul rules were wonderful.
Even though people still get confused with the scoring.
And it's not always just the rules. Like functional graphic design helps a lot too. Yes, so I think that's something that Terraforming Mars had going for it. The graphic design was pretty good. So
tread lightly there, Mr. Ray. I said that in this show and got mocked for a solid month. I agree with you. But.
I said in my review on the Opinionated Gamers, I think the artwork is more functional than attractive.
Yes, well, that's true, and that's what I think of when I think of graphic design. And it was pointed out to me how incorrect I was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a Lacerda game or Eclipse is worth $100, Paul. So in general, I agree with you. However, my point is that I think that there is a cost there, and at some point we're going to have to all collectively agree on the point that Brandon was making, which is that make the game good first, then worry about the stuff inside, right? Like I don't care about the goodies.
I'm sure there's a ceiling for what people are willing to pay for a game.
But I don't think we found it yet.
Well, there's a ceiling where people hit it and they think, oh, I better start thinking about this. How about that?
So,
and you hit that ceiling, and what's going to push them over is a quality game that's been play tested over and over again. You get it as well oiled as you can. You get a rule book that's readable by my 7-year-old kid. You get it and that's hyperbole. That's not really what I mean.
I gotcha. Yeah. I know what you mean.
You do that, and that's going to push that barrier a little bit past that $50, $60 range that we're hitting now, right?
Right. I agree. I think that so there are 2 different things that I want to say here. Number one, when I thought I was going to be a game designer, and that was my focus, which was years ago. And matter of fact, by the way, a company that had signed 2 of my games and then released me from the contracts because the company kind of went south. Actually just returned some of my prototypes. So now I have these back and the itch is back again, and it's awful. And I kind of am mad at him for giving them back. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. But anyway, having said all that, one of the things that I would always ask, because I would make people fill out an actual questionnaire after their playtests. I had physical piece of paper that I made them write on because I was doing blind playtests. And one of the things was, assuming that the components were of a quality you would expect from this type of game, how much would you want to pay for this game? Mm-hmm. I always thought that was a valuable data point, because you could get the idea of what kind of game people thought it was. If people think it's a main course kind of game, they would say $50-$60. If people thought of it as like a little filler game, they would say $20-$30, maybe $40, right? Like that dollar value had a level of weight behind it that
Brandon, I think
smiling like it is one of them, Ben. Yes, and I've had that prototype for a while.
I think Bill just said something brilliant, Brandon, and that is maybe the value of a game. We didn't mention this on the podcast. Maybe the value of a game is actually determined by how long the game lasts and not the components inside.
That's part of it.
What?
I think that is. No, I think like short fillers people perceive that they should be cheaper than long main games. I actually think that's true, and we didn't even think of that.
No.
It's absolutely true.
I think it's true.
It's absolutely true.
It's true that people perceive that. I don't think it's true that it should be that way.
I'm just not going to pay $75 for a 15-minute game.
Yep.
How much did we pay for a 30-minute Azul if we want to go out there and just kind of...
Well, you and I have pimped out our copies, so...
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically a 30-minute filler.
Yeah.
But again, I think that it depends on, and it's not universal, but I do think that that's a big deal. I don't think people want to spend $50 on a filler game. I mean, maybe some people do. That's great. This is
the whole thing where we're going that filler games are inferior to the bigger games.
No, not inferior. Not inferior, but it's not a matter of inferior. It's a matter of, do people want to play this game for 3 hours? If I can get a 3-hour play experience out of a $60 game versus a, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm getting a better bang for my buck. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's true.
Yes,
I'm not.
Sure, it's true. It just boggles me that people think this way.
Yeah, it sucks, but I think it's legit. I think it's an issue. So the second thing that I wanted to, then I lost it. Never mind. All right, I had a second thing, and now I don't know what it was anymore. Damn it.
Yeah, another thing. Sorry, just going back to CGE and their rising cost.
Yeah.
You know what? Another thing that brought their price up to us was them leaving Z-Man and distributing on their own.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Paul, games that you can get back to the table have the most value. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of games that I have in my collection. As a matter of fact, I was grumping about it on the main show, that I spent all this money on Gloomhaven and I've been struggling to get it to the table because I can't get people that'll commit to play the damn thing, so that way I can actually get past the second scenario, right? Like I'm over $200 in on that game, and I have yet to play more than the third scenario in the campaign. Well, maybe.
Over the last year, I played Magus like 26 times, 25 games of Azul, the Chameleon 23 times, and I loathe that game. But it's fun, and you know, I mean, number 9, goddamn, give me that.
Yeah,
I don't need 3-hour games to feel like I got my value.
I know you. I know you tried, Ben. I appreciate it. It's fine. Look. Here's the deal. I trend towards heavier games, so I am biased. I freely admit that. I have always admitted that. I don't tend to like short games in general. I like the feeling of the build to the climax. Like I want my games like I want my movies, right? Like I want an epic experience. That's just a thing that is for me. So like a 30-minute game is like a sitcom, whereas a 2-hour game is like a feature-length movie. In my brain is a weird place. I agree that I am not correct. Okay, I get it.
I think on my happiest game nights, and this used to be how we conducted our game nights, it was a mix of the two. We would start with a couple of 30-minute games, and then we would play a 2 or 3 hour game, and then we would end with a couple of 30-minute games. And they weren't fillers. Like we just had a set order of things, and those are my happiest game nights. I mean,
Bill likes games that require an insert. You're not wrong.
Bill likes games where he has to spend more money on the game.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's stupid, but it's true. I like games. Oh, okay. Yes.
I love Baron Park then.
I do love Baron Park, actually. I do love Baron Park, and I kept the insert, even though it's stupid.
It's not an insert. It's a cardboard divider.
Whatever.
I've never bought a big game insert in my life.
I have bought a number of them, actually.
I bought one for fucking Gloomhaven.
Okay, so hang on. Let's go through this. What games do I have that have inserts? I had Caverna, but I sold my copy. Actually, to Ben in the chat. Gloomhaven has an insert. My Fields of Arl has an insert because there's a million little piddly bits for that. That's annoying. Custom insert.
You should see Chris's Agricola. It's just all rubber banded together and things thrown in the box. It's amazing.
It barely fits too.
Oh, we lost Bill again. Sorry.
I get old. There we go. Oh, and Brandon's gone.
Oh,
Hi,
God.
Chris.
I'm like the one steady person on this podcast today.
Nice. Thanks for holding the show down for me, buddy.
I would like to thank Mediacom for the excellent internet service.
There you go. Hey, right now Verizon is my hero because I'm tethered to my phone, so that way the show could go on.
Are you worried about your data usage?
Nah, I have an unlimited plan.
Oh, okay.
But okay, so let's see. Rattlebones, Fields of Arl, Gloomhaven. Tzolk'in has one because I backed that Folded Space Kickstarter, the one that made like the basically the punch out foam core inserts. I backed them, and I backed that for Tzolk'in. My copy of Orleans has one that I haven't built yet. And then I've done my own storage solutions, which are not inserts, but I've had to do different stuff for, like, the Colonists has one. I didn't buy a custom insert, but I bought a bunch of GMT trays.
So I get it when people do game inserts. What I don't get, and what
Beast Rodin.
Blasphemous to me, is like we have a member of our game group who has like these game storage boxes.
Oh God, we've talked about this. Yeah.
Oh, it just drives me crazy. and Brandon has this thing he calls a quiver, and it has like 10 card games, and like taking them out of their boxes would just kill me.
Oh, I do
I
that
can
all the
handle
time.
quiver. Yeah, the whole portfolio system or whatever it is that he called that abomination where he just burns the boxes.
Okay, so there are a few games that I have done that for. A lot of my card games, I also have a Quiver. Thank you, Quiver, by the way, who gave me a copy in exchange for me organizing some donations to a charity, which was kind of awesome. But I like doing that for card games specifically because I don't want to have to carry 20 little boxes around. Because that just gets annoying. The only other game that I can think of that I don't have the original box for is Eclipse, and the reason that my Eclipse doesn't have a box is because TS or the airline that I flew when I went out to Granite Game Summit last year forced me to check my carry-on bag, which had my copy of Eclipse on it, and so the boxes got crushed by the idiots that were handling the baggage. So I ended up just getting rid of the boxes and put them in a plastic thing. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. I get a lot of people that get twitchy about that. What about expansions? Do expansions have to stay in their own boxes, or is that okay?
No, I keep the boxes because I'm crazy, and but I have a closet just full of expansion boxes. But I try to put them in the main box.
Those I actually recycle.
You're an insane person. Not the recycling part. You are not an insane person. People that keep expansion boxes, that is nuts.
Well, I can understand it. Chris is a big churner of games, right?
Yeah, I've sold as many games as I own. I've sold probably 300 plus games. So
I get it.
Yeah. So there are those weird people out there who won't buy us an expansion if you don't have the box. I get that.
I actually have strangely met people who ask me if I keep the international rules for games before I sell them. And so now I keep all of those. I used to throw those away. I'd be like, I'm never going to need the French rules. And so,
I suppose. I don't know. I get rid of the boxes for expansions because by the time I'm getting to the point where I'm buying an expansion, I already like the game. So I'm generally expect that I'm not going to sell the game.
Yeah, most of the time I'm the same way. I don't even buy that many expansions. I just prefer new games.
Can I just say that the couch area behind you, it gets more and more chaotic looking every time you're on the show now. Sorry, I just noticed it for the first time. That's awesome.
It's
this is the room of Brandon's house I've never been in.
Sure.
Well, there are several rooms, but
I don't need the judge. The scorn.
Keeping expansions in their own boxes because you like being able to separate them out of the base game. Boy, that's an interesting point. I guess there would be some games that I guess I could see that, like for instance, Carcassonne, that would make sense, right? Like sometimes I might,
right.
if I were able to buy them
in a big giant box and you're good to go, and put them in a bag.
Put them in a bag.
I'll teach them as they come out.
Sure.
I also worry about if you put too much in a box, it loses its structural integrity. So I have a friend who put all of the gift series in one box, and that box is beat up to hell. And it's man, I'd rather just carry around the different boxes.
Terraforming Mars's box is very thin. It's not a good box. I've actually been thinking about reinforcing it because now I've got all this, everything currently in existence is in that box, including my game trays, and that's not good.
So I can tell the answer for Brandon from his background, but do you store your boxes vertically or horizontally?
Oh, we've had this fight. Hey, chat room, do you store vertically or horizontally? I want to hear from you.
Can you tell that I do both?
You store them wherever they fit.
Exactly. Doesn't matter. I bag everything up anyway.
It does matter because here's the deal. I store, vertically means you can get the games out easier, right? It's easier to pull one game off the shelf when they're all vertical because you can just slide it out. Horizontal, you have to pull the 5 things off the top. That annoys me.
Mark my words, there is a disaster in the hobby brewing. In a few months, The Rise of Queensdale will come out and it will sell a ton of copies. But the problem is that game has to be stored horizontally. If you tip the game board vertically, the pieces could fall out and you could lose the state of your campaign. And when that happens, that's going to be hilarious for somebody. It's going to be terrible too, but it can totally happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gloomhaven is horizontal.
Does it have to be? So Queensdale's the only game I've ever heard of that has to be stored one way.
Does it have to be?
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
Not with our new inserts.
Boy, That's not a die I want to roll.
What are we going to mess up?
I don't know. I
We're
just
not going to
feel
mess
like
up anything.
that just
Store
sounds
it upside
terrifying.
down for all.
That just seems like a bad plan. Look, you're probably right. I can't imagine that.
I know. I'm like the anarchist of storing games. I just throw them where they fit. I'm like a cat.
That just,
if it fits, it fits.
Yeah, that just doesn't. That sounds terrifying to me. Okay, but however, my vertical games are landscape vertical. So they're like the long way in my Kallax shelves, so that way I can lay a game or two on top of them as well. So they're mostly vertical with some horizontal.
Mm-hmm.
That is most of my bookshelf size games, and the big annoying long box games are all horizontal because in my brain you can't put those vertical because that seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, if you notice my Kallax out there when you come over, Chris, it alternates vertical. So, yeah,
Okay, see now that's kind of cool.
That's how I do it.
That's kind of cool because that's like a stylistic choice, right? That looks neat. I can see that.
And then you just stack things on top of it to the ceiling.
We had 3 people weigh in the chat: two vertical, 1 horizontal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Lacerda
Josh is a nutcase. I could never do those big Lacerda games vertical. I don't
think
I have a place for them.
vertically just sounds like that's the kind of box that I meant, like the long box, right? Like a power grid size box. Those just seem like a disaster waiting to happen storing them vertically because the box isn't deep. So I feel like the cover can come off easily. Like the box has to be a certain depth before I feel like I'm safe to sort vertically. So the bookshelf games, like the Aaliyah games, are like the minimum size for me. Anything smaller than that.
Yeah. And so the Queensdale, that's a new Aaliyah size, isn't it, as well?
It is. And it's not going to be able to sit on the shelf like the other ones.
Yeah.
My copy of Anachrony is horizontal because it's the only other game that I can fit in the cube that has Gloomhaven in it.
When are we all just going to start going diagonal? I mean, that's the wave of the future.
So, you know what? If you had a game shelf that worked like a wine rack, right, with diagonal squares, that would actually be kind of awesome looking.
It would be awesome, and it would actually be really effective.
It would work really well, too. Yeah, get on that, everybody. Do it. Like that. I would like to have that. I think
Could
that
we just build our Kallax shelf like that?
I just have so many conflicting thoughts in my because I am one of these people who complain endlessly about boxes of air, which I know makes me sound like an insane person.
Yeah, you keep all the boxes of air. That's where you're the insane person, right? We have solutions there.
But then I also am one of these people who wants like uniform box sizes because they look nicer on the shelf. So like those two things are kind of contradictory, right? Because like you would in theory just let games be sized to the right size and wouldn't care about uniform sizes, but these things that you care about when you've got hundreds of games.
Yeah.
Hashtag gamer problems.
Hashtag time for a purge.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry. I'm responding. Paul watched my live stream that I did last week of the Colonists, where I did sort of a walkthrough solo play, and it was just so frustrating that I ended up giving up and ending the video, and then I made it unlisted because I ended it wrong. I thought that the stream had ended, and it didn't. So then I ended it poorly because I thought I was going to have to start another stream, and so it's just got this really clunky, terrible ending. So I unlisted the video.
Just kicking things and cursing and
you know, it's here's the deal, right? Everybody else, when they get into this space, does it recorded, right? So like if it sucks, they just don't release it. And I do everything live stream. So everything I do that's crap, everybody gets to watch, right? which is fine. So you can all live vicariously through my terribleness. But yeah, the Colonists, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Paul. That's good. That's a horizontal game as well, by the way. That's another one where I don't trust my storage solution. I like
Mine's
it.
vertical. Yeah.
I have it stored weird, and I don't trust it.
Mine's vertical, but I still can't get that stinking expansion in it.
I don't have the expansion. And my box has lid lift now, which is making my eye twitch.
Yep.
And I hate that. So I don't know.
There's so much stuff in that game.
It's such a good game, though.
And I got that for $65.
God, it's so good. Tell you what, now that Asmodee owns Mayfair and all of that nonsense, if the Colonists doesn't get some extra love once they like get their heads around all this extra content they have, I'm going to be really sad. I think that that's such a good thing, and it's so ripe.
It looks like they're going with the scenario stuff because I saw somebody posting a new scenario, like thoughts on a new scenario the other day. So.
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just mean you could do full expansions for that too.
Yeah.
Like you absolutely could
We need 3 more eras.
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
If they don't release the Agricola Anniversary Edition, I'm probably going to cry.
Well, don't cry. I feel like you'd be
We're
an
getting
ugly
farmers,
crier.
though.
Do you ugly cry, Chris?
I don't cry that often, but I would cry over not getting my fancy.
We're getting farmers in the new edition.
What?
Farmers in the Moor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which I still never played.
Oh, it actually, if you add Farmers in the Moor, it plays a lot like Fields of Arl.
Yeah. Which is...
The Agricola plus Farmers in the Moor equals Fields of Arl.
And I already have Fields of Arl. I need to get Team Trade. This is fun.
It is fun.
Can I just say that I know that I put the After Dark episode behind a Pod Pledge / Patreon wall, right? Like we had to get X number of donations a month because, well, this stuff ain't free. But I really enjoy these. These are always fun for me. I wish that we got to do these more often. Pledge more on Pod Pledge and we'll do more. No, I'm kidding. I'm only kind of kidding. Chris, Ray, you have an open invite onto my show. If I almost feel like I want to add you to the rotating co-hosts. You want to be a rotating co-host?
Brandon knows this, actually, so this is sad news, but I am actually taking a hiatus. I said retirement, and Brandon made fun of me for saying it. A hiatus from board game content creation in the coming months. So,
all right. Just going to focus on just enjoying it?
Yeah, I think so. I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I do a lot of written stuff, which takes a long time to do. And so I'm just going to take a break and just play some old games and force Brandon to play some old games with me. And but I loved it. This is probably the most fun content creation thing I do because when you write alone. When you do a podcast, you don't really see other people's faces. I mean, I do see Brandon, but the video format works really well here. So
it's fun.
It is fun.
And that's the thing, right? Is that, I mean, the focus of the Cubist has always been, I want to be informational. I want to have honest. I want to be informational. I want to be transparent and honest, and I want to be fun.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things that have always been sort of the mission statements of the show, not necessarily in that order, especially with the informational part. As I have said numerous times tonight alone, I am very good at being wrong. I have a lot of practice. So, but yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it. That's cool. Well, let me put it to you this way. You can take your hiatus or your quasi-retirement or whatever you want to do. But if you ever get bored and you're like, hey, I got a Monday night free.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're always welcome.
A lot of fun.
Even if you do talk too much.
I know. So you bring me on the topics I'm very passionate about.
I know, right? That's actually why we get you. We legitimately have conversations, and Brandon's like, I bet you I could get Chris to talk about it.
When we do the Gloomhaven deep dive, I'm going to bring you on.
If you ever do a Teach You deep dive,
that's on the short list.
Yeah,
that's one that is.
I still think Mary Prasad would be fun. We might just have to do it after dark.
Yeah,
I'm down.
I can ask her. I mean, but gosh, I think one of the most fun people to have would be Ted Alsbach. So
Ted's been on the show.
Yeah, but he is a Teach You fanatic.
Is he a Teach You nut?
Yep.
Right.
I mean, the hobby has a lot of those. Gosh, I mean,
that's true.
It saddens me that Teach You seems to be losing its steam in the hobby a little bit. I feel like I used to go to conventions and late at night I would see everybody playing Teach You. And today, I don't think that's true at all. So,
well, this year, I mean, here's the deal. Every year there is one game that is that game now. It always used to be the same game. Now it's a different game, right? Like this year, it's going to be the Mind. I think
the crypto. Yeah.
There's always, lately, we've had a lot of games that have filled that niche off and on, instead of there just being one evergreen game. But I think there's still a lot of Teach You in the world, right? Like, I mean, I don't feel like that game is suffering. There are still Teach You tournaments at all of the major conventions that I have gone to anyway.
Yeah,
they exist.
Talk about it. It's something I would never want to participate in. Like, that game can cause anger without being in a tournament setting. You go in a tournament, you're going to get a whole bunch of real jerks.
I don't know. I have a couple of friends that play in Teach You tournaments at Geekway, at the Teach You tournament at Geekway, and they always have a good time. So Or BGG,
It
I'm
has
sorry,
a-
not
I
Geekway.
was gonna
BGG.
say.
BGG. I just said the wrong thing. Shut
I
up.
was gonna say, yeah, I don't think we've had a Tishu tournament at Geekway since Zev was there. So
So, all right, let's wrap this sucker up before it becomes tomorrow. Thanks, guys, for hanging. Thank you, chat room, for hanging for the After Dark. Do us a favor. Think about, Pod Pledge and all the other stuff. And go check out Opinionated Gamers. Go check out Chris's stuff before he retires and stops creating content. While he's here,
This is my big week. I had the Rise of Queensdale review. I have my 50 Modern Classics articles, which I've always wanted to write. And then I have the Spiel des Jahres predictions on Friday. So
I think I submitted for the Brandon's version of the 50 of the
Yeah,
classic
you did.
games, right? Okay.
you did.
How did I do? Did
I
do
think-
okay.
I think the punchboard list might be more fun than the Opinionated Gamers list.
Whoa.
Except we have some more glaring ones in there that I'd like to be rid of, but I won't.
Yeah,
take
there's
them.
more laugh out loud titles in the punchboard list, but I think there's more fun titles in it too.
Yeah, Imperial Settlers has no business being in there.
I don't know. A lot of people really like it.
It's true.
A lot of people really like. I'm not one of them, but a lot of people really like it.
But there's something really cool about getting like 20 or 25 content creators to just like aggregate what they think are like the hottest games, then just publish the top list, because every individual has esoteric tastes. But when you get a large group of people together, you get something pretty cool. So,
Brandon, do you have my list? Can you find it?
I'm looking here. 1 second.
Because I don't remember what's on it. Like at all. I have
Bill
no
doesn't
idea what I
remember
sent you.
His own top 15.
I don't remember. It was that day, right? Like it was legitimately.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, he's been yelling at me. I got to write this.
It went. Do you want in reverse order? You were the only vote for
Reverse.
Kalis.
I was
Ka-
I was
you went
15.
Kalis 15, as Castles of Burgundy 14, Amon Ray 13, Cathedral 12, Elfinland 11, Automobile 10, Amerigo 9, Fields of Arl 8, Space Alert 7,
Yes.
Alchemist 6,
Mhm.
Dungeon Lords 5, Terra Mystica 4, Sulkin 3, Power Grid. You said Deluxe. I'm sorry, I did lump them in together.
That's fine.
Power Grid 2 and Eclipse 1.
All right.
That's a good
Sounds
list.
like me.
Yeah, that's a good list.
That's a good list. Paul would have been very happy to hear that I put Automobile on there. I think Paul and I are about the only two people that still adore that game.
Is that Matthias Kramer?
It's
No,
Martin
that's
Wallace.
Martin Wallace.
Oh, it's Martin Wallace. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Martin Wallace one that he did with Mayfair. It's so good. It's so underrated. It's one of those, like, I think that might be one of my next when I finish upgrading my live streaming rig. I've got some parts on the way. When that gets finished, I think Automobile might be my next under the radar game, because I think that is a wildly underappreciated game for what it is.
So Bill, do you want to venture a guess at the top 5?
That on that list total?
Yeah.
Oh God.
We ended up with 26. We ended up with one
Castles
more
of Burgundy, I'll bet you is in there.
Nope.
Really? Okay.
Made the
Azul is probably in there.
No, it's 95 to
2015.
2015.
Oh, 95, 2000. That's right. 95.
No, just the top 5.
Okay, hang on. Ticket to Ride.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
in there.
Carcassonne.
It's in there.
Yeah. So this is just the boring people list. Okay. Let's see. Agricola.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That one's not boring. Gosh, I don't know. Let me see.
You've basically named the top 3.
Yeah. Mage Knight? No. That's too heavy for this list. This list is going to trend lighter.
Castles of Burgundy ended up like at 37.
Really? I'm always surprised when that doesn't get as much love. Terra Mystica?
Number 10, I think.
Okay. Again, too heavy. I'm thinking from my own preferences. I'm not trying to think of
Well,
what the
stick with
group
your own
is.
preferences. There's one in there that
That was on my list.
mm-hmm.
Amon Ray?
Oh,
No, that wouldn't be on there. That's not a well-liked enough game. Well, Eclipse wasn't on there. I know that.
No,
It wouldn't
no.
be top 5. I don't know.
It's Power Grid is
Oh,
in there.
Power Grid, yeah, sure.
And then Dominion are our top 5.
Yeah. Power Grid's a good choice.
It's really fun. The Opinionated Gamers list actually ended up very similar to the Punchboard Media list in the top 15 or 20, right, Brandon?
Yep. Yeah, and then there's just this huge, weird divergence. Like, what you have Princess of Florence in yours? Nobody mentioned it.
Well, so the opinionated gamers. So on average, the people on that listserv have been in the hobby for a couple of decades, and Punchboard's newer. And so the games, there are a lot of games from like 95 to 2005 that are on the OG list that aren't on the Punchboard list, and vice versa. And actually, like Princess of Florence made the top 5 for OG, and I don't think it was even mentioned on the Punchboard list.
It's not even in ours. Yep.
Okay, hang on. Do the thing you guys are talking about. Does it have to be a game released this year? Which thing? I'm confused, Ben. I don't know what you're asking. Sorry, I'm lost here. Yeah, Race for the Galaxy would have been a good guess, Ben.
It's in there somewhere. It ended up at 27.
Okay.
That's about where ours ended up for Race.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, we have some weird ones in there. Like Euphoria has no business in the top 50, but there it is.
Isn't that game like universally acknowledged as broken at this point?
It is. It's in there.
Not universally.
Yeah.
Not universally. I just there are a lot of people that still like that game. I'm not one of them.
Your Space Alert made the top 50.
Yeah, because it's a great game.
The one on our list that I was genuinely shocked did not get any votes, and it sounds like Bill was the only person that voted for on that, is Kalis.
Yeah.
I do still love that game, and I taught that game to some only barely gamers recently, and they really liked it too.
Are you pumped for the new version?
Pumped? No, I'm happy to see it come out.
So I asked Adia if he had changed. This is the only question I had the chance to ask him if he had changed anything about the Provost, because that's one of the more controversial parts of the game.
Sure.
And he looked at me and he said, "Kalis wouldn't be Kalis without the Provost."
Exactly.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's what we talked about when we had that episode."
Yeah, that's the defining characteristic of that game. You can't talk about it without that. So why would you get rid of it? Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get out of here. I've said this 3 times. I'm actually going to do it now. Thanks everybody for hanging. You guys, yeah, Kanban is a little bit of a underloved game, Ben, because the board design was not awesome. That's all I'm saying. So, all right, have a great night. See, we're going to keep saying interesting things. I'm never going to hang up. So, peace out. Thanks for hanging with us after dark. We will see you next week. What are we doing next week? We talked about it. What did we decide we were doing next week? I have it scheduled. Why don't I remember what it is?
I don't even know how to get to my calendar.
Oh, that's a good sign. Good sweet Lord.
Nope, that's the wrong.
I have it scheduled. I just don't remember what it is. I'm the worst. Why do I never think of this stuff? Why do I not think to? I don't know.
Calendar.
I had it scheduled. 14. I don't know what it is. Whatever.
Oh, it's the SDJ thing. Come on.
That's right. We got to do Spiel des Jahres.
Maybe we'll have Chris back.
So
you guys should play the Mind live and on air.
Oh yes.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
You guys should. It would be actually really interesting.
That would be super fun. I would do that. I don't know how we do that
apart from each other.
You'd have to have an impartial dealer.
Yeah.
But I would totally do that. All right. I like it. Chris, we might suck you back in here next week before your retirement kicks in.
Okay.
You want to talk Spiel next week?
Yeah, I always love to talk about the Spiel des Jahres. So.
All right. Well, we'll maybe see him next week. Everybody have a great rest of your week gaming. We'll see you next time. Be good. Bye.